David Mitchell stood at his kitchen window, watching the autumn rain streak down the glass when he heard the front door open. His 12-year-old daughter Emma was home from school, but something was different. There were two sets of footsteps in the hallway. He turned around expecting to see Emma with her best friend Katie, but instead found his daughter standing beside a thin girl with matted blonde hair wearing clothes that looked 3 sizes too big and shoes held together with duct tape. The girl's eyes were fixed on the floor, and she was shivering despite being inside. Emma looked at her father with an expression he had never seen before. It was determination mixed with pleading, and underneath it all a fierce protectiveness that reminded him so much of his late wife Sarah. David's heart clenched. Sarah had passed away 2 years ago from cancer, and since then it had been just him and Emma navigating life together. They had learned to be a team, sharing responsibilities and leaning on each other through the grief. But this situation was something entirely new. "Emma, this is Lily," David said gently, keeping his voice calm even though his mind was racing with questions. "Dad, she followed me home from the bus stop," Emma said quickly. "She was sitting in that doorway near the grocery store, you know, the one we always pass. It's freezing out there and she has nowhere to go." Her voice cracked slightly. "Dad, please. Just for tonight." David looked at the girl named Lily. She couldn't have been more than 14, maybe 15. Her face was pale and hollow with dark circles under her eyes that spoke of too many sleepless nights. When she finally glanced up at him for just a second, he saw something that broke through every practical objection forming in his mind. He saw fear, yes, but also a tiny flicker of hope that someone might actually care. "Okay," David heard himself say. "She can stay tonight. We'll figure out the rest later." Emma's face lit up with relief. Lily's shoulders seemed to drop an inch as if she had been holding her breath. David gestured toward the stairs. "Let's get you warmed up and into some dry clothes. Emma, why don't you find something that might fit?" As the girls headed upstairs, David pulled out his phone. He needed to think this through carefully. He couldn't just keep someone else's child without understanding the situation. But something in his gut told him that whatever Lily's story was, it wasn't simple. And it wasn't safe to just send her back out into that cold rain. An hour later, Lily emerged showered and dressed in some of Emma's older sweatpants and a hoodie. Her hair was still damp but clean, and without the layers of grime David could see she was actually quite young. Emma had set up the guest room, the one that had sat empty since Sarah's sister visited last Christmas. David made hot chocolate, and the three of them sat at the kitchen table in a silence that felt both awkward and strangely comfortable. Lily spoke first, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry for the trouble. I can leave if you want. Emma was really nice, and I haven't had anyone be nice in a really long time." David exchanged a glance with his daughter. "You're not going anywhere tonight," he said firmly. "But I need to understand what's happening. Are your parents looking for you? Do you have family we should contact?" Lily's hands tightened around her mug. "My mom died 3 years ago. My daddy started drinking after that. It got bad, really bad. I left 6 months ago. Been staying wherever I could. Shelters sometimes. Mostly just trying to stay invisible." The words hung in the air, heavy with pain and resignation. Emma reached over and squeezed Lily's hand. David felt his throat tighten. He had spent the last 2 years trying to give Emma stability and safety after losing her mother. He couldn't imagine what it would be like for a child to lose that, and then lose everything else too. Over the next few days, David made calls. He contacted social services, spoke with counselors, and learned that Lily had been in the system briefly, but had run away from a group home where she said older kids had bullied her relentlessly. The caseworker he spoke with was overworked and honest. She told him that Lily would likely end up back in the same situation or worse. The system was overwhelmed. Unless someone stepped up, Lily's future looked bleak. Meanwhile, something was changing in their home. Emma and Lily had become inseparable. David would hear them laughing in Emma's room, talking about books and music, and all the small things that teenage girls talk about. Lily was careful, almost painfully polite, always offering to help with dishes or cleaning. She ate slowly, as if still not quite believing the food was really hers. And at night, David sometimes heard soft crying from the guest room, sounds that reminded him of Emma's grief in those first terrible months after Sarah died. One evening, David was working on his laptop at the dining table when Lily appeared in the doorway. "Can I talk to you?" she asked hesitantly. "Of course," David said, closing his computer. "Sit down." Lily sat across from him, fidgeting with the sleeve of her borrowed sweater. "I know I can't stay here forever," she began. "I know you've been trying to figure out what to do with me. I just wanted to say thank you. This has been the best week I've had in so long. Emma is amazing, and you've been so kind. I won't forget it. David studied her face. In just 1 week, she had gained a little weight. The dark circles were fading. She smiled more easily. And Emma had come alive in a way he hadn't seen since before Sarah got sick. His daughter had purpose now, someone to care for and protect. It had brought out a strength and compassion that made his heart swell with pride. Lily, David said slowly, I've been doing a lot of thinking. And I talked to Emma about this too. How would you feel about staying here? Not just for a little while, but really staying. I want to become your foster parent, and if things work out, maybe eventually adopt you. Lily's eyes went wide. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Tears started streaming down her face. You don't have to do that, she finally whispered. I don't want to be a burden. You're not a burden, David said firmly. You're a kid who deserves a home and a family. Emma wants you here. I want you here. We've got an extra bedroom that's just sitting empty. Sarah, my wife, she always said our home should be a place of love and safety. I think she'd be happy knowing we're sharing it with someone who needs it. Lily covered her face with her hands and her shoulders shook. David came around the table and put a gentle hand on her shoulder. It's okay, he said softly. You're safe now, you're home. The process wasn't instantaneous. There were meetings and home visits and paperwork that seemed endless. But 6 months later, David stood in a courtroom with Emma on one side and Lily on the other as a judge officially made Lily a permanent part of their family. Emma was grinning from ear to ear. Lily was crying again, but this time they were tears of joy and relief and belonging. As they walked out of the courthouse into the bright spring sunshine, David thought about that rainy afternoon when Emma had brought home a shivering stranger. He had been afraid that day, uncertain whether he was making the right choice. But looking at his 2 daughters now laughing and linking arms as they headed toward the car, he knew with absolute certainty that opening their home and their hearts had been the best decision he'd ever made. That night they celebrated with Lily's favorite meal, pizza and ice cream. As they sat around the table, David raised his glass of soda. To family, he said. To second chances and to never being afraid to show kindness. Emma and Lily clinked their glasses against his. To family, they echoed. Later, after the girls had gone upstairs, David sat alone in the quiet kitchen. He pulled out an old photo of Sarah and smiled. We did good, didn't we? He whispered. She would have loved Lily. She would have been proud. And in that moment, David understood something profound. Grief had taken so much from them, but it had also taught them the value of compassion and connection. By opening their door to someone in need, they hadn't just saved Lily. They had saved themselves too. They had become whole again. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button. Subscribe to Kindify Stories for more inspiring true tales of human kindness and compassion. Share this video with someone who needs a reminder that there is still so much good in the world. Together we can spread hope one story at a time. Thank you for watching, and remember, the smallest act of kindness can change someone's entire life.